set here. I'm in a hotel. Hey, there we are. Broke down. So we're in a hotel. Kind of the after effects of the last broke down. Something else just kind of caught up with me. So thought we'd just do this impromptu little live. Hasn't really been that stressful. Just more irritating than anything, honestly. But we're broke down here in Salina, Kansas. So, waiting to see what happens with the truck. The parts should be in tomorrow. So, hopefully, they'll have it done tomorrow night or early Thursday morning. Kind of sucks being broke down this close to the house. If they had a decent car rental place or something, chances are, if I'd known it was going to be this long, I would have just rented a car, gone home, and then come back. But so popped the radiator on the truck. Was it about a month ago when I had that hose that got really hot? The truck didn't hurt the engine, but these plastic radiators, you get them hot like that once, they weaken. And my F-250 did the same thing when I blew a hose. We blew a hose trying to get back from Oklahoma and made it home, but it was hot and cold, and those plastic radiators, they just give out. And so this one just popped. So seems to me the pressure relief valve should have given way, but when they're that weak, they just go. Pressure's got to go somewhere. So working on getting the radiator fixed. I had an OE radiator, but that was about $3,000. So if I can wait one more day, I can get an aftermarket one for about $1,000. If they hadn't been able to get an aftermarket, it was going to be a week or so, I was going to go ahead and just put the OE in. They had it on hand. Yes, it's more expensive, but it gets you out of the house a lot faster, or gets you out of the shop a lot faster. So he ain't making no money sitting here. So yeah, grab a drink real quick. So we're just hanging out and went and checked out of the hotel this morning. I didn't know whether I was going to be back to the hotel or whether I was going to be going home for a few days. Turns out I came back to the hotel. So, but we broke down just about 10 miles south of the Nebraska border on 81 and had to get towed back. Being as it was so far, they went ahead and had to bring a second truck out to tow the trailer back separately from the truck. It's about 75, 80 miles. So when you're that far out, it's kind of, they don't like towing the whole combination together if they don't have to. There's a lot of states that won't allow it. They'll just allow you to tow it to a safe place, and then you got to break them apart. I don't know what the specific rules here in Kansas are, but the reason I towed it here instead of taking it up to York was in case something bad happened, it was going to be easier for me to get home from here. I can literally just take a lift over to the Greyhound station and go home. And I know if you cross the state line, the price just goes up tremendously. So we're just chilling out here in Salina tonight. Hopefully, didn't really have anything really spectacular happen with the truck. I mean, I knew when it popped because I had just white smoke and antifreeze just billow out from underneath the truck. I'll have to get it washed again. It's red and sticky. It is nasty. Just antifreeze everywhere. So we'll have to take care of that. Like I said, with any luck, radiator's supposed to show up tomorrow about between 11 and noon. I think they're bringing it in from Wichita. If there's a snafu happens and they say no, we can't do this or that, I'll just have them put the OE one in and be done with it. I hate spending the money, but that's just the price you pay for. And truthfully, these radiators, I think they get them from LKQ. That's about where they get them. Everyone, they all get them from about the same place anymore. There's 3 different brands. You get the real cheap one, which are between 800 and 1,000. You get 2-3 years out of them. You get the mid-range ones that really aren't. I don't think they're any better than the cheap ones, and then you get the OE, which are pretty much kind of the difference between Dorman and Motorcraft. They're all made in the same plant. So I don't know how much better the OE ones are than a regular LKQ one. So we'll find out. But from what I've done talking to a lot of people, you get about 2.5-3 years out of these aftermarket radiators. So I do believe that I changed this one out before, so it makes sense. I've had the truck for a little over 2 years now, so probably going to trade it off in the spring regardless. We're getting to the point where I'm going to have to start dumping some real money in, probably into the after treatment system here. But that's still going pretty good. So yeah, we're just hanging out tonight. Went and hope you guys liked the video about the GMC I bought. It's kind of a little different thing, but it was fun. I enjoy stuff like that. Kind of breaks up the monotony with the trucking videos. I've said about all I can really say with the trucking. I mean, I've talked about the business and all that. And I'll do a tax video here soon enough, because it's going to be tax time here soon. And I do enjoy doing the tax videos, to show you guys just actual operating costs of what it just costs to do this job. And mind you, I wouldn't call myself cheap, but I do look for the bargains, and I'll spend the money on the good parts, but I've learned that if you stay a little patient, you can still get the same good parts at a discounted price if you're not in a hurry. Of course, when it comes to things like this, had a circumstance been just a little different, I would have, like I said, I would have gone ahead and thrown the OE in there and just been done with it. But this stuff like this is why I always stress it's so important for you guys to save your money. And I've talked about this before. A lot of the guys that when they become owner operators and they start getting those good paychecks, and they're good, but you don't have you got to take that 40% out for taxes, and you got bills and stuff. I understand all that. Guys go nuts, and the first thing you want to buy is a camper and a boat and maybe a motorcycle. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but if you're working, 300 days a year, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to use those things. So, just put your money in the bank for now and for a year and a half, and see where you're at. And then after about a year or so, you'll kind of know where all your expenses are, and you'll be able to start putting some real money away. And thankfully, I've been blessed enough to where I can actually put some real money away, and for things such as this, it's been actually a real blessing that I can do that. When I left my last company, I was one breakdown from being out of business. It was it's hard to say this without slandering them. Uh, I don't think it was the owner. I think it was the people he put in charge. Now, the owner's son is a complete idiot. He's got a horrible reputation, and he's not well liked by the city they live in. That's why he doesn't live there. Kind of clueless. But they took care of the company drivers and their lease drivers, and then but even guys that have just contracted on to haul like the ice cream they haul and stuff like that, all they use them for is to bat cleanup. They don't like them. They don't respect them. They're just there to fill in the gaps. And when like a buddy of mine, when he was doing all right as a lease driver, but when he decided to pay his truck off, suddenly it went for him. And I went and wrote a check and paid mine off, and I was out of there. And they sure got me on the way out too. So I went from having close to 50 grand in the bank when I started that little adventure to just barely over 4 grand. And I knew that it was time to go, because 4 grand sounds like a lot of money when you ain't got it, but 4 grand ain't nothing in the truck driving world at all. 4 grand is not enough for anything. I mean, so thankfully I got with these guys I'm with now, and within 6 7 months I had made that money back. It was shocking. Um, between that company and this company, the first year it was a quite literally a $66,000 difference. Uh, no fooling. Uh, in fact, it was so vast that I actually screwed myself on taxes that first year because I didn't realize that the gap was going to be that big. And but thankfully, I saved my money. That's what I'm getting at is you guys save your money. So when things like I'm going through now, it was a almost $1,700 tow bill, and when I get here, it's going to be probably 2,500 to $3,000 repair. So we're looking at probably somewhere between 45 and 5 to get this thing done. But here's the thing: you save your money, and you can't let things like this shake you. Trucks break, you fix them, you go on, and hopefully you're with good people who will work with you. And if you don't have the money right away, hopefully they'll finance you, or at least they'll start taking it out of your weekly pay. My company will do that, but I don't like owing anybody money just because of uh, not even so much of how I was raised. It's just I've seen too many guys on the hook in trucking companies that end up getting taken advantage of because, well, suddenly they got something to hold over you. And this company I'm with would never do that. It's just shell shock from previous companies. So we're just hanging out here tonight in Salina, Kansas. Uh, so if anybody's got any questions or anything like that, I had a breakdown years ago. My first major breakdown as an owner. I had to run out to. I had two stops, like San Jose and. Uh, hey, no problem. San Jose, and I think the last drop was in Santa Rosa, I believe. It was both of them were just right around the Bay Area. Maybe it was Hayward or something like that. And I get up to Santa Rosa and just everything goes nuts. I start getting oil in uh, my antifreeze and just craziness. So I go up to Winston, California. There's a Packard repair shop there in Winston, just north of Santa Rosa. And the oil cooler's bad. Well, to get the oil cooler out, they got to take the EGR off. So when they took the EGR off, they found out the EGR was leaking. So we had to get that fixed. And of course, you tear it all down, and it took it was a 6 day repair. It took just a couple days to get the truck into the shop. But I'm gonna tell you what, if you ever gonna break down to Santa Rosa, that was the most epic week I've spent on the road. Just 6 days in a hotel, and it really wasn't that expensive. I had a laundromat, I had a grocery store, I had an In and Out about half a block down. Um, this burrito place made these awesome burritos, man. Liquor store next door. I was drinking then, and right around the corner was a place called the Pinner Cafe, and phenomenal food. It was the best breakdown I've ever had. And you know what? If I ever broke down, I said if I get lucky enough, I'd love to break down in the same place again. It was a really nice. I stayed at a Hotel 6 right off the 101. It was about I think about $450 for the week, the 6 days in the hotel, which isn't bad. The repair was $4,200, and but you fix it and you go on, and that's what I kind of learned. When you break down, you can't get mad. I'm at the age now that I don't get mad about a whole lot of stuff anymore. Honestly, there's no point in it. But you sit there and you just go on and you just make the most of it. There's not a whole lot to do here in Salina. But I mean, I got the Petro across the street. I've got an IHOP next door. Too bad the Iron Skillet closed because I'd rather eat there. It's better than the IHOP, I'll tell you that. But I mean, I don't recommend the. I tell you, Jordan Peterson said it the best. He said, a man needs to become a monster. You need to be a monster, and then you have to learn how to control it. You know, I've told this analogy before. Guy was talking about getting control of his anger in the comment here. One of the stories my dad always told me was about Cain and Abel. My dad was a very religious man. He didn't beat us over the head with it, though. He just realized it was just better to live it than quote it. But we got talking about Cain and Abel one day, and when Canaan was mad at his brother because God accepted his sacrifice and not Abel, or he accepted Abel's and not Cain's. God comes at Abel and says, "Why are you mad?" And Cain says, "Hey, my brother got approved and I didn't." He said, "If you had done the right thing, you would have been accepted, would have not accepted your sacrifice if you'd actually done the right thing." But then when what he says next is, evil lies at your doorstep and its desire is for you. You must master it. And in that, what he was telling Cain was, evil is all consuming. It wants to take you like a jealous woman. Your job is to master the evil and master your emotions. And it's a very serious quote if you ever read it. And but that's the whole process of getting older, is learning how to master your emotions and mastering the evil that wants to screw with you. And, you know, getting older, yes, sir, I broke down. Getting older is one of those things, and I'm learning these lessons in real time that I wish I would have learned 10 and 15 years ago. Thankfully, I'm learning them now. But you kind of get to a weird point in life to where just these things are just temporary. They don't shake you. Like there's no point in trying to get a you're trying to get a permanent solution for a temporary problem, and when you realize that most of this stuff is just temporary, just it'll either work or it won't. And I got better things to do than stress myself out over stuff like that. But yeah, I broke down. Uh, we're in Salina. Popped a radiator on the truck. The evil is one step away. Evil's less than a step. He's what that's walking in step. People seem to forget that evil doesn't die. It knows you. It knows your dad. It knows your grandpa. It knows everybody, and it'll follow you all the days of your life, whether you wanted to or not. So our job as human beings is to keep it at bay. I'm not going to get too religious here. I There was a time when I was gonna not be a truck driver and go to seminary, but I'd probably have the smallest flock known to man. Uh, but yeah, I'd have a different YouTube page if I'd gone to seminary. But as soon as the truck gets fixed, probably this spring, I'm looking to upgrade again, and it's a constant step up. The first truck you get with the money that you have on your first truck, it's going to be a little wore out. That truck is to get you to your next truck. Your next truck is going to be a little better and a little less miles, a little better maintenance. You're going to have a better idea of what you want. And then once you get past that, you buy another truck that's got a little less miles, a little newer, better maintenance records, maybe a little bit of warranty still left on it. And you got a leak, huh? Goes down to 70. If it stops I got one like that right now, honestly, on this truck. And what I think it is the cab airbags. While they're inflated, it's all wore out around the bottom, and then when they drain out, they kind of settle, and when they roll under, they tuck. It seals itself. I think when it gets to a certain psi. Airbags are notorious for that. I've got something leaking under the hood. I think it's the governor, so we're gonna have to look at that. But and so I'd look at that, and I'd look at your leveling valve to make sure that's properly adjusted too. You got two of them. You got the one on the suspension and the one on the air cab. I had an air ride front suspension, and that thing was. I tell you, when you have it unburdened off a load, go get yourself some Windex or something like that, and spray all the airbags front and back. Spray everything down, and that's where I would start. And you start seeing a little bit of foam. That's probably it. But yeah, air leaks are, man. You'll chase an air leak forever, and then suddenly it'll just go. It'll make you mad because you could have had this thing fixed, 6 times over by the time the airbag pops or something like that. Going down the road, going shh. Yeah, that's a good feeling right there. Uh, I got dinged on a DOT inspection there in West Memphis uh, on an air leak I couldn't hear. Had a brake can. Oh yeah, air leaks just grow as you fix them. That's true, man. It's like you fix one, it just goes to the next weak spot and then the next weak spot, and you just end up chasing that thing all over the truck. Oh, it's a good time. But it's just part of it's just part of the deal. When they quit going for those collared connectors to the quick disconnects, I mean uh, it's madness. I know. I try to change the plastic ones out to the brass ones. Yeah, that sounds like it might be it. I know sometimes if your axle's just a little unlevel, it'll sit there and try to balance it out, and it just yeah. Water leaks are like air leaks, though. Of course, I'd rather deal with an air leak. I think. Of course, now that I said that, I know when I have to replace those plastic quick disconnects. If I have the opportunity, I always replace them with brass. Just they tend to last and be a little more robust, especially when you're changing out your seats, the ones that are on the floor. So the ones that are on the floor are they're a mess. I ended up having to change both of them out. PACCAR engines are kind of one of those things. They're either a curse or a blessing, and it doesn't seem like there's any in between. Just you just never know. I went through the phase where they were all had recalled for all these camshafts, and they had to go through, and whoever was doing all the heat treatment on all their camshafts really screwed it up badly, and then they ended up having to recall thousands of trucks and put new camshafts in them, and then lately it's been fuel injectors. The one thing I know about PACCAR, this is the one thing I don't like about them, is they try to cut corners, and it seems like they'll try to use new hardware and existing software, or flip it over, existing software and new hardware. Um, they want it to run on the same systems, but they don't want to change what the parameters of the system. And like with all their oh yeah, like with all their like their injectors. I talked to enough mechanics that we kind of got to the point where we were kind of thinking that yes, you're getting bad injectors. Whoever was rebuilding them was probably bad. They were putting used injectors in, or remanufactured injectors. Um, but I always felt that it was a combination of software and a lot of guys were using the wrong fuel filter, so it was letting a lot more schmutz into the fuel system, and it was just too sensitive. That was kind of my impression of what was going on there. That's just kind of what it seemed like, you know. I could be wrong, but I heard a couple of guys that had had that problem and were having injector problems, and they just changed out the primary filter to a smaller micron, and suddenly it solved their problem like that. But you know, Peterbilt wants you to jump through hoops and try this additive and this and that and the other thing, and when it's under warranty, you got to do all that. And truthfully, but what's sad is I saw a guy for sale had for sale a 386 with a pack car and an automatic, and the truck was beautiful. Uh, Flat top sleeper. I think it was a 48 incher flat top, twin stacks, beautiful looking truck. It was green. It was on the 386 page. Pack car and automatic, and he's like, "Well, what's it worth?" And I'm like, "It's just not worth anything." Uh, you know, for the cab and chassis, I'd give him 8, 10 grand for it, and that's kind of was a going consensus. I mean, truthfully, you can put a Cummings in it with a manual. You can get all that done for about between 15 and 20 if you shop around. The hardest thing is the wiring harness. Everything will plug in where it's supposed to, but like Packard has one plug and Cummings has another plug, even though they all go to the same spot. So you got to do a little bit of wiring and stuff like that if you don't want to get a Packard harness, which basically just bolts into the firewall and goes out. I know a couple of guys that have done that, and they've had very good success. So swapping their pack cars out to Cummings. I do know that you have to move the front engine mount, I think, forward 2.5, 3 inches, something like that. There's a bit to it. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a pull out and drop in, but it can be done. If you're mechanically savvy, it can be done fairly inexpensively. But now sticking a cat in one, I couldn't tell you that. That just seems like it'd be more of a pain than anything. I know initially, and the first ones came with caterpillars in them, but they were more like C13s and the Acers and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just hanging out here tonight. There's nothing going on really. I'm gonna be here all day tomorrow. I tell you what, hotel rooms are weird, man. You ever just walk into one and they got a weird smell to them. Just weird smell. Not too sure about it, honestly. One of these days I'll have to do a video on why hotel rooms smell weird. There's a whole lot of more videos I'd love to do, but they just wouldn't work on my channel. But yeah, we had a pretty good run down to Georgia. Didn't really videotape that one, but it was a good run down to Georgia. Cut across, came back up over there to Hutchinson, Kansas, and it's Salina. No, it's not. It's one of the nicer ones in town, but yeah, at least it's not a pay by the hour one, man. And I haven't seen any bugs or anything, so that's good. Uh, but yeah, as the weather starts turning colder, I've just been kind of enjoying the warmth. Uh, I was going to do a video about this, and I decided not to. I just didn't want to take the time to do it. But I love old '76 truck stops, and I like stuff like that. And I did a couple of videos that I didn't post because there just wasn't anything for it. There were about 8, 10 minute videos. I ended up putting them on my Rumble channel. Oh yeah, I got a Rumble channel. Uh, Trucking with Dave, I believe it's called. Yeah, and so I like old '76s. Where the TAs turned into '76s, and I like going into them and sneaking around to see if I can see some of the old '76 stuff, like some of the old orange and brown stuff, and some of the old signage, and like the old light poles in the back and upstairs and stuff like that. And uh, yeah, I think about that all the time. But but when you go out of Arkansas, or you're going out of Memphis, between Memphis and uh, Little Rock, there's a 76 truck stop now. Somebody, it's a 24/7. It's got a 76 sign. It's got the orange ball up. I was like, all right, I'll check it out. Uh, cool, thanks. Yeah, your dad's probably got some pretty good stories. So I go into this old 76, and I'll tell you uh, what a dumpster fire. I've never seen a brand new truck stop. Oh, dementia. Oh man. Yeah, my father went through that, and it's a horrible thing to watch. And so I'll tell you, if you're gonna have a loved one that's got dementia, just spend the time with them when you can. Uh, it's an awful disease. Yeah, spend whatever time you can with them because it's gonna mean a lot when they're gone. I'll tell you that. But I went into the 76, and I know it's been open for about a year or two now, and never have I seen a brand new truck stop be such a rundown dumpster fire. I could not believe it. Uh, they're like, they got one bathroom in there, and it's a single hole for men and women for this huge truck stop. There's more bathrooms in the back. Well, you go in the back, and there's these like plastic sheets like they use at the supermarket for the cold section. You go outside, you're outside, and they got a trailer out there, like a construction trailer, with bathrooms in it. You just walk outside. I'm like, well, I've been in the parking lot. This isn't much different. At least there's toilet paper here. And it was an absolute atrocity. It did what it was supposed to do, which I needed a place to park because it was late. But I'll tell you what, if I have the choice, we're probably not stopping there again. What a nightmare. I generally don't like running across I-40 anyways. I-40 through Arkansas is just, it's like I-70 through Missouri. It's just two narrow lanes, never been improved, and it's just rough. I mean, it's just tough. These guys, they all pack up, and everybody drives like idiots, and everybody's trying to force their way around. And uh, yeah, uh, I'm not going to bother talking about courtesy on the road and all this. So these things have been talked to death. We know what the problems are. It's just up to us to fix them. Uh, I was sitting there reading uh, I used to do a lot in the Twin Cities with the last job. I was all over the Twin Cities, all over Rogers. And in about the last 10 years, it's gotten really bad. They've they opened a quick trip truck stop there with about 20, 30 spots. All the locals have that jammed up tight. The old Stockmans, they sold the parking lot in the back to the bus company and the shop and that first row of parking to another trucking company. And then the rest of the locals have that jammed up. It's a ghost town. Nobody's there. It's a truck dump. And it's, I hate broaching the subject, but um, the Somali population up there has gotten so big, they have completely destroyed that city. Uh, I'm not going to blame it on just them. The city government's allowed them. But then, you go around the loop, like I said, there's those two truck stops in the Twin Cities. They're both in South St. Paul. And then you got to go out to Rogers to the TA or the other ones. And, or you go out You go out east, across the border into Wisconsin, and then you start getting into some truck stops there. Uh, the pilot that's south on 52, I went in there once. Oh my goodness, that was the best thing you could do with that pilot is to bulldoze it. Uh, it was a rundown dump 25 years ago. It's worse now. I don't think they've cleaned it since then. But nobody will let you park on the property there where we go. It just there's very few places that would let us park there, and they want you there at all hours of the night. And then suddenly, you've got to figure out how to get in, and then your clock's running, of course, and then you've got to go find a place to park or at least have a load out. And then when you go get your load out, the when they made truck driving unskilled labor, Minnesota, especially the Twin Cities, is crawling with bottom feeding truck drivers. They have driven the price of freight down there so cheap that it's almost easier and better for me to deadhead out of uh, the Twin Cities to St. and go all the way out to Worthington or all the way back into Wisconsin. I'd make the same amount of money. It doesn't even hardly pay for the gas or diesel. So it's just become a very yeah. They got that Love's there at the 51 in Dayton. I remember when they opened that. That's a little rough. Dayton's always been a rough city, though. Yeah. Well, I tell you, people's behavior towards each other has changed. I mean, but what ended up happening is that all the professionals got run out, and the old timers that still had something to share, they were all told, "We don't need your help anymore." So they just quit caring. They're just doing what they do, and a lot of them just got as bad as everybody else. Just whatever, leave me alone. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to retire. And I got a buddy of mine who's turning 70 this year, and he's going to ride it out to the end of the year. He's 70 now. He's been doing this since 1975, 6. No, I think 1977. He got out of the Marines right after Vietnam. He never went to Vietnam, though. He was in, and he's been doing it ever since then. And he's one of the very few guys I know that were still trucking with a chauffeur's license before deregulation. And those guys are all about gone. Like I said, he's one of the last ones, and he's at 70. So, uh, me and him back in the day when I started driving, I ran into him at that outlaw company, and well, I tell you what, we did some crazy shenanigans there. But he slowed down, and you know he's wanting to spend time at home with grandkids and retire and all that. And I don't blame him. He's 70. Why would he want to keep trucking? So, but it's just Minnesota is a beautiful state. It's just populated and run by some of the worst people. Used to, like I said, we used to go all over the Twin Cities, and a lot of super value all over there. We get down to we get a load that goes into that, what is it, Aldi's down there in Fairmont all the time, and I just don't even do that just because there's no place to park. They've all come down to the old Truckers Inn. Used to be a phenomenal truck stop 15, 20 years ago, and it is a dumpster fire. The Flying J went from being, I think, the Blue Ox to the Flying J. It ended up yeah, I've heard of a Roth IRA. Spider behind me. Well, well, he won't eat much. Uh, yeah, a Roth IRA. One of these days, I've been talking to my tax lady about doing a Roth or a SEP account, and I need to put some kind of retirement together. But everybody asks us, "What are you going to do? You know, when you retire?" I said, "Well, I don't plan on retiring. My family didn't ever live that long to retire. We're just going to go hard right to the end." My grandfather on my mom's side, the doctor made him quit jogging at 90. He lived to be 98, and I think when the doctor told him he had to stop working out, I think that's when he started going downhill. I mean, at 90 years old, come on, if he's going to do any damage to himself, it's already been done. I mean, he was a World War II vet that got blown up by German flak. I mean, if he lived through that, and then he lived through Korea, and then he lived through 2 tours of Vietnam, I think he's earned the right to run whenever he wants to. So, yeah, Grandpa was a strange, strange man. Uh, too much war, I think, but he was good at it. My grandfather was not a storyteller. He was a very quiet Middle Eastern man who didn't talk. Uh, he just didn't talk. It was funny because he was a salesman. He retired, became a Remax realtor out in Denver for another 25, 30 years, and then just a born salesman. But he never told stories. Never. I got one story out of him from Vietnam, one story out of him from Korea, and one story from World War II. And he was a B-17 navigator in World War II, and he was in. I know the name of his plane in World War II was called Flak Happy. There was two of them. I've got a picture of him out in front of it. But he was bombing Hamburg and got hit by flak and they got all tore up, and they made it home, and he ended up in the hospital for 2.5 years, or for a year and a half. Got out just in time, was going to go back to medical school, and then got called back to go serve 2.5 years in Korea. And at that point, he just decided that he'd make the military his career. So became a so yeah, interesting guy. But the rest of my family, nah, we just go hard till the end. But as for retirement's account, it's not a bad thing. I mean, people think life insurance is about death benefits and all that. No, life insurance is to help you get through life. That's what unemployment is. It's basically a different form of life insurance. Wait a minute. I'll tell you, if you're going to purchase a truck, and a Freightliner is not a bad truck, for your first truck, now hear me out. This is going to sound funny. Go through the truck paper. In fact, I would call up Schneider and hear me out on this. Schneider has a tank division. So you could probably get a fairly new truck set up to haul tanker if that's what you're wanting to do. Uh, that you could probably put right to work. And for your first truck, don't worry about aesthetics and all that. You need it to be mechanically sound, basically not falling apart while you drive it. And you need to have good maintenance records and all that. Or I tell you right now, if you're looking for a Freightliner, go to the Freightliner dealer and talk to a salesman. Just find yourself a salesman, and all you got to do is talk. Tell them what you're looking for. and what you want to do with it. Now, if you're going to haul tank, and I've hauled tank, I've got a tanker endorsement. I used to haul smoothbore out of the refinery out to fields and stuff like that. I did a liquid lime. Smoothbore is it's a treat. Um, if this is a truck that you're going to be keeping for a while, or you plan on keeping it for a while, uh, make sure it's something that can be multi-purpose, because you might lease on with the tank company, drive it for 6, 8 months, and be uh, and you might end up well, that's cool. You might end up deciding that maybe I want to go try something else, and you want to take your truck somewhere else. So uh, you might want to pull van, or you might want to pull step deck or something like that. So make sure the truck is kind of a multi-purpose, if you will, that maybe you can do multiple things with it rather than just being pigeonholed into just having a truck that all it does is this. Uh, yeah, all that smoothbore is a treat. I remember the first time I went around a corner onto a ramp. I started going downhill, and all of a sudden it all hit the front of the tank, and all of a sudden I'm rocketing down. I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to get up to speed, and then it all slowed and hit the back axle there, and my truck just, and you're like, oh, well, guess I'm not going to get as a, well, if you want a mid-roof, get a mid-roof. I love a good mid-roof. I think the resale's better on mid-roofs, but you'll get a better, you'll get a, it's a catch 22. If you get a condo, you can find a condo cheaper, but when you go to trade it up, you're not going to have the value, because condos are kind of like that. Uh, so yeah, it's just, you kind of have to figure out what you want to do with it. If whatever truck you're driving now, if you like that style of truck, uh, look for that. Uh, and I'm sure, with Freightliner dealer, I'm sure he can actually sit there and get you financed and get you set up with a minimal amount of money. You're going to need a little money to start. They're going to want about 5 grand. I'll tell you right now, a buddy of mine, he didn't have the 5 grand when he went and started. So he got financed for the truck. Went down to his local bank, got a signature loan for the 5 grand. Used the 5 grand as a down payment. So for about the first year, he was paying on 2 loans. But the 5 grand was cheap. He had that paid off the first year, and then he got that money saved up, and then he just rolled that over into his truck payment, and had that truck payment paid off in 3 years. So uh, but you're going to need a little bit of operating capital and stuff like that, and if you're with a good company, it sounds to me like you'll get it. Well, then you ought to be all right. uh, I'll tell you right now, I'd put about 20 down and finance the rest, uh, because the rest of it, you're just going to need to sit on it and then add to it each week. Because I'll guarantee you, you buy a used truck, there's going to be a couple things that are going to happen. You might have to get a tire or two. And I'll tell you this, it might cost you a little money up front, but it'll save you on the back end. If you notice something you want, or something that's not right, or something you want to get fixed, and you find the truck you want, have it done at the dealer and have it rolled into the purchase price. Yes, it'll make the truck a little more expensive, but you're going to have it all done before you take off. And since it's rolled into the purchase price, you're not going to have to dig into your down payment or anything like that. Like a buddy of mine, he had an APU done like that. Yeah, it was about 8, 9 grand, but I mean, brand new APU on his truck, and uh, tended to work out. Uh, So hopefully here, I should know something by 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon if we get the truck. We get the truck going. Um, Parts should be in, like I said, by noon tomorrow, so they can get somebody working on it. But they're not going to bring it in till the parts. I mean, they got limited space and all that, so they're. An LLC, as a sole proprietor, is kind of a catch 22. Uh, it's something you definitely got to talk to your tax lady about. The reason I didn't do an LLC was because, as a sole proprietor with one truck, there was really no real point in me doing it. If you've already got one set up, I would, you can just run the truck through the LLC, lease the truck to yourself, and then pay yourself, mileage or wage or something like that, whatever you want to do. Definitely something I'd talk to my tax man about. Get a tax man who understands trucking. Uh, that's one of the things I always tell people. It doesn't, when they start off, before you find your truck, before you do anything, find yourself a tax man and an accountant who understands trucking. A lot of these things we read on Facebook and a lot of these things, these urban lists, a lot of this stuff is not tax deductible. Uh, and then there's a lot of deductions that people aren't deducting because they don't realize they are tax deductible. There's two things that are going to get guys in trouble with their taxes. The first one is per diem, not understanding how to use your per diem. Uh, if you claim a full 100%, that $62 a day or whatever it is, I can guarantee you're going to be audited, and you're probably going to have to pay some of that back. Uh, as a truck driver, you get so many dollars per day for every day out, and you can only claim 80% of that. So you gotta work that out with your tax accountant. Um, hmm. The other thing that gets people in a lot of trouble is trying to deduct entertainment. Entertainment on the road here is not a thing. It's weird. You can deduct if you buy a TV for the truck, you can deduct that, but you can't if you buy a DVD player for the truck, you can deduct that. You can't deduct the DVDs. Uh, trying to deduct meals and stuff like that, that falls under your per diem. But if you're trying to deduct meals as entertainment, like I bought you dinner for a business meeting, you're entering into some gray area that can get you in a lot of trouble. It's just I've seen a lot of guys audited because they tried to deduct entertainment expenses, and an entertainment expense is not something that you did to entertain yourself. Uh, so you have to be very careful with that. But like I said, I'm not a tax accountant. I highly recommend you talk to a lawyer about all of this stuff. Uh, I don't know. I got a video coming out here. We had our annual safety meeting, and some of the stuff that came out that the DOT is writing tickets for now is nuts. So I get that coming out here soon. But yeah, like I said, when you find the truck you want and all that, find yourself a really good trucking accountant. You want somebody who's above board but understands the gray area. You know, you kind of want to dance in the lighter part of the gray area. You start getting too far into the darker corners of it, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. The government's a pimp. They want their money every 3 months. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of guys make this mistake, and it sucks to do it this way. But when you figure out what you need to pay quarterly, Uh, Pay your quarterlies. Don't wait till the end of the year, because I'll tell you right now, it's easier to come up with 8 or 10 grand than to come up with 35. Uh, Trust me on that. Uh, so you got to sit here and pay quarterlies, and then you're paying monthly on top of that, trying to play catch up because you didn't get enough of your taxes paid. This is where a lot of guys get in so much trouble. Is just they don't realize that the tax burden as an owner operator is really high. I had a My first truck was a red truck. I don't have any software. I'm such an old school idiot. I need to get some software and start doing some spreadsheets and stuff like that. I still write everything down in a hand ledger. I keep all my receipts. I keep them organized. I keep them filed, and keep all my fuel stuff. And at the end of the year, I itemize everything and do it all by hand. And then once I get all the raw numbers, I take the raw numbers into the tax lady, and she does all the filing for me. Uh, I tell you, but there are a lot of very good software programs out there and rate calculators and stuff like that that'll really help you. A lot of guys use QuickBooks. My problem is you got to do it like every week. You've got to keep things constantly uploaded. You've got to Now, if you want to pay $100 a week, you can send your receipts, scan your receipts and your pay statements, and forward them all to somebody, and they'll keep track of all of it. So come tax time, it's good. There's people out there that do that. I could be doing that. I don't, but I probably should really. But I like my tax lady, and when she retires, I'll find somebody else who will probably want me to do that. But for maybe a couple hundred a month, you can find somebody that will basically itemize everything as you do it. Unless you want to do it yourself, at the end of the day or the end of the week or even at the end of the month, just put your pay in there, put your per diem in there, put your fuel cost and all that, receipts and whatnot, and it'll sit there and collate everything, and you'll have a nice itemized list each week. There's programs out there that do that. Well, I'm not a shining example of technology. Uh, I don't even own a computer. I do everything on an Android. That's not a joke. I don't even own a laptop. I keep saying I'm going to get one, but I don't. I do everything on my phone, even on my YouTube. Got a couple of open source editing software, and just do it that way. I could be doing a lot better, but well, I'm not. So, yeah, like I said, get yourself a tax man or lady, and just remember to pay your taxes. I calculate my fuel off my discount. I got the we do the EFS card, and I use the basically the Wex app, and the app's gotten better. It's not great, but it's gotten better, and except for the cost of using the card, it gives me the discount what I spent there. Now, here's the thing: like even Comdata, Wex, and all that, it's going to cost you money to use those cards. A buck 100 or whatever like that, $2 100. It comes out to about 700-800 bucks a year. And you get too many guys that don't want to spend that money. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. Um, you spend I think I spent $780 last year using the card, and I saved 12,000. Uh, so if you can't spend 780 bucks to save 12,000, I don't know what to tell you. Uh, these cards, the Comdata cards, saved me uh, between 10 to 12,000 a year too. And that's an expensive card to use. And we switched over to the WEX, the EFS, and it's a little cheaper, but a lot of guys are doing Mudflap now. You get some pretty good deals on Mudflap. But if your company offers you a fuel card that has a good discount, like if you lease on with a company, they offer you a good, Mudflap gives you good discounts. Uh, if you can get good discounts on it, I highly recommend using it. Their fueling program. You're seeing prices at like 4.20 a gallon for diesel up here, which is ridiculous. But you look on the app, and I'm saving between 80 to $1.10 a gallon. You know, uh, I've had, when what was it, a couple of years ago when the price of fuel shot to 5.25. I was getting $1.50 a gallon knocked off. Uh, so I mean, then when fuel surcharge shot up, I'll tell you what, oh yeah, I get fuel surcharge. When the fuel surcharge shot up, I actually, just to see if I could do it, I went 8 months and never touched my base pay. The surcharge paid for all of the fuel. I can still probably do that for the most part, but I'd be running on E most of the time. And what I've come to realize is when you get a load that pays really good, just fill the tank. You're going to use it anyways. Like for instance, I get 3 loads in a row. I get one load that pays really good. So I'll fill up on that, and then when I get the next load, I've still got enough fuel to run that without touching my fuel. Then when I get that load delivered, I'll put enough fuel to get me to the next spot, because these loads pay okay, but you get one load pays for the fuel and the rest is sheer profit. And I get the fuel surcharge off that too. And you'll find if you get into the surcharge game, you'll figure it out. One of the disturbing trends I've been seeing is a lot of these companies are trying to make these owner operators pay for reefer fuel. If you're working for a company that's not going to pay for their own trailer fuel, and they're not going to pay for their own washouts, despite you got to get a trailer washout, and they're not going to pay for the maintenance of their trailers that you're pulling, because look, if you own that truck, you are power only to them. You're not responsible for the cleanliness or the fuel of that trailer. And if they're trying to make you pay, or they're taking part of your fuel surcharge to offset this, that, and the other thing, I'm going to tell you right now, you're working for the wrong people. You're working for crooks. That surcharge is yours. And I'm a firm believer that a driver should get 100% of that fuel surcharge. And there's a lot of companies out there that aren't doing that. And I have a real big problem with that, because it's your truck, it's your fuel, and they're just trying to take their cut. Well, we got to pay for the reefer fuel. Yeah, you do, not me, you know. So I knew one guy that he was getting 80%, which is a great percentage, but they were charging him $400 a week trailer lease for a company trailer. It was a dry van, and I remember thinking at the time, you could buy you could use dry van for $10,000, $12,000, and I'm thinking, dude, you bought him at 400 a week, you bought them, what, 2 trailers that year. They were just scalping you. 80% ain't worth a crap if they're taking it back. So when you start getting uh, job offers and they're talking percentage wise, when they start getting over the 72 to 75, especially over 75%, you need to figure out what they're charging you to, because nobody gives you 80% out of the goodness of their heart. Uh, so, well, we've been talking about a little over an hour and 11 minutes right now. So I just thought I'd do a quick live, let you know what's going on. Like I said, when the truck broke down last week and I lost all that antifreeze, I think it stressed out the radiator, and so when it took off, I think it just finally had enough. So pop the radiator, but these things happen. So we'll get that fixed, and as soon as I'm fixed, I think I'm about an hour and a half north of the house, so I'm just gonna run over here to the Blue Beacon and uh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna run over here to the Beacon. I'll just wash the truck and get all the antifreeze off it. And I literally painted the truck the first time, and yeah, you did. This time I painted the other side of the truck, so at least I didn't dump as much antifreeze as I did the last time. So I'm not gonna lie, that last time I was on a hook, I've never had antifreeze come out that fast and that hard and that, I mean, just lickety split. I watched the heat temp gauge go like that. I watched every light that truck had come on, including the D rate, and I literally just, it was all I could do. I went from 0 to nothing in 45 seconds. It would just, I just went and shut it off as fast as I could. And I dumped the antifreeze so fast, I literally was dripping antifreeze off the rear mud flaps. It was just, I painted everything. Wasn't that bad this time, but I should have, I wish I would have had my rear cameras. I went and I come up that hill out of the Loves in Belleville and just started just getting with it. And all of a sudden, all this white smoke just starts bellowing from under the truck. I literally thought I blew ahead. And then suddenly it was over. And then, but the temp never spiked. And I went and checked my oil, and there's no milkshake. And I opened up the hood, and oh man, it was impressively fast. It was, yeah. So, but it makes sense why it went. Like I said, I stressed out the radiator when that happened. It just got too hot, and these plastic radiators uh, just don't like heat. I wish they'd make them out of metal again, but they'd probably want 15,000 for them and be made out of the finest Chinesium. Uh, of course, if they were still metal, we could actually rebuild them. They don't want to rebuild them. They want to charge us money, and then when they break, throw them away. That's the way of the world. So, yeah, I got lucky on that one. And like I said, now this time it's just a radiator. So, didn't even really lose a lot of antifreeze this time, but you take a little antifreeze and blow it on a hot engine, and it just creates all sorts of white smoke. Like I said, it was impressive. So hopefully I didn't damage the truck. because I really don't want to do a rebuild or anything like that on this. I'm not interested in doing that. Of course, if I drop a liner or something like that, I'm going to be forced to. I'll put a gold kit in it. I mean, it'll run me about 20, but it'll get me over the line till I want to sell it, and I'll put new piston packs in it and new rods and mains, and probably since I got it broke down that far, I'd probably have a new EGR put in on it too. Just one of those while you're in there parts, an EGR and an oil cooler. Yeah, you'd think they'd want to reuse and replace, but everybody talks about recycling, but uh, there's no corporate money in real recycling. They want us to buy new. I mean, even if you look at some of these trucks now, some of these trucks are designed to run 500,000 miles and be scrapped. So, yeah, we'll just, like I said, do rods and mains and new piston packs. And even if you only need to do one piston pack, I'll tell you right now, you drop one, you're going to drop another. And there's no point in breaking an engine open more than once. I'm superstitious about engines. I know once you break open a virgin block, it'll never be the same. You will eventually blow that head again. That's just it's like they never go back the same way. I mean, they'll hold up and they'll be all right for a while. You might get 300,000 or 400,000 out of them, but then they'll go again. Every truck I've ever seen that's been rebuilt, that just seems to be what they do. But while you're in there, you might as well, like I said, rods and mains, and just do it upright. Uh, it'll help your oil pressure out, and it'll just make the truck run a little better. Excuse me. I'll probably put a new vibration dampener on it while I'm at it. These liquid filled vibration dampeners, they got a service life of 500,000 miles, and they're liquid filled, and what ends up happening is they just start getting clumping up. And truthfully, if you get vibration in an engine and all that, and you've got 700,000 on it, always start with the dampener and work your way back, because it'll vibrate through everything. I have a buddy of mine. He works at Cummings. He said they had a truck that was just eating computers, and they couldn't figure out why. And turns out the vibration dampener was bad, and it was running at just the right frequency where it was just shaking the guts out of that computer. It was just literally just shaking the computer apart. Just everything runs at a frequency, and I guess those two didn't like it. So, but I know when my red truck, when I put a new vibration dampener on it, it ran so much smoother. So, and they're cheap. They're about 600-700 bucks. And like I said, you're already in there with the thing tore apart. So I'll go ahead and if I have to do that, I'll put like I said, new dampener, probably new EGR, and a new oil cooler in there, just because, well, you're in there, and these are things that it couldn't hurt. You might as well do it right while you can. So, well, I think we're about an hour 20 now. I think I'm gonna let you guys go, and if you got any more questions, we'll and try to answer them. But yeah, we'll let you go here in a minute. If anybody's got anything else, the Family Guy's on. So, well, I'll tell you what. Thanks for hanging out. Kind of was, like I said, was an impromptu live, but had a pretty good turnout. Mm, it's pretty good questions. I'm glad you guys showed up. It's always fun. I like doing these lives. So you guys Oh, can I explain? Ever think about retirement? And can I explain IFTA? Um, IFTA is the International Fuel Tax Agreement. Basically, what it is you take your fuel tax from each state, it goes into a pool, and you have a blessed night too, man. And it basically covers your fuel tax from state to state. Back in the old days, what you had to do was to keep track of every mile you ran in the state. You still have to, but you had to send that state a check for every mile that you ran in that state that month. And if you overpaid, you didn't get a refund. That's why, like a lot of these fuel programs with these company trucks, you'll see them. They want you to stop here and put 30 gallons in here, and then stop here and put 50 gallons in here. What they're doing is paying their fuel tax. That's how that works. And it's a complete pain. But what IFTA does is take that overage, basically put it into a pool, and then it covers where you're short. Like, say, I don't fill up in Minnesota if I don't have to, just because the ethanol content's too high in them. And it tends to during the winter, it tends to make the fuel kind of thick. They passed a rule saying that fuel had to be a minimum of 20% bio. See, I don't have a problem with that, but that's the minimum. It can be 20% bio, it can be 50% bio. And uh, there's a lot of fuel related problems that happen if you start trying to run too much bio in these trucks. But so say like I owe Minnesota $200. Well, I'm $300 over in Illinois. Well, instead of getting a refund and having to pay them, that money in Illinois will just roll over and cover your road tax in each state. So what IFTA does is basically cover your road tax. Yeah. So there was another question here. Where was that? So I don't know how this works. Oh, was that? Whoops. Let's see. Do I ever think about retirement? No. Well, I do, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to do. But I work for a company that allows me to do a lot of stuff. But as for retirement, maybe someday, but uh, I've still got about 15 years before I'm eligible. So, like, I'm 50 now. So I got a couple of years, but we'll just see. So, anyhow, well, I'll tell you, you guys have a good night. We'll see y'all later, and be safe out there.